our wedding. And our weather. When Wednesday, July the 29th, broke clear, warm and blue, our first prayer was answered. The crowds were already gathering. Some of them had been here for several days. The estimate for the television audience was 750 million. Overhead and all along the route from Buckingham Palace to St. Paul's, the cameras were waiting. So too were the people. As that lovely morning went by, more and more cheerful people crammed the pavements. There were favours to wear, balloons to fly, and all the fun of the fair. Everyone wanted to do something to add to the colour of the occasion, some more than others. For the back row, periscopes. Champagne before the palace gates for the foremost of the front row. By 9 o'clock, our patience is rewarded. The military processions begin to move into the palace yard, led by mounted police and a guards band, the first of many. That's the mascot of the Irish Guards, a wolfhound, followed by the Queen's Colour Guard and their own band. Everyone gets a cheer as the columns assemble. This is going to be a great procession. Patriotism is a little unfashionable in some quarters these days. But just as Prince Charles and his bride are direct descendants of centuries of monarchs, so these men are spiritual descendants of the troops who fought for them and for our country across all those centuries. Today, we salute them. And here are the Blues and Royals, the household cavalry, without whom no British pageant is complete. There's something about the glinting breastplates and helmets and the creak and jingle of harness that brings out the wondering child in us all. The marriage of the heir to the throne in a continuing monarchy such as ours is a very important event. Not only do we now know that our next king will have a queen, but we may hope confidently that the succession is assured. At last, the preparations are complete. The cameras over the palace can see a movement out into the Mall. The first thing we see from the crowd is the 1st and 2nd divisions of the Sovereign's escort. Close behind, at exactly 10:22 in the morning, Her Majesty the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh leave the palace, precisely on schedule. In the next carriage, the Queen Mother and her grandson, Prince Edward. Between the carriages, the royal standards announce to the world the identity of the passengers. Around them ride their armed and watchful escorts. We have a few of these ceremonial processions each year in London, but they're by no means an everyday event. If you think about it, this will probably be the last really big one of this century. As each one takes place, a whole antique vocabulary comes into use amongst us British. For a week or two, we can remember the difference between a footman and a postilion. There are Princess Anne and Princess Margaret, no doubt remembering their own wedding processions along this very route. As others of the royal family wave and smile past the crowds, dukes and duchesses, earls and their ladies, you can't help reflecting that they've been doing this for the best part of 1,000 years. Now, more than ever, they take an active part in the life of the country, not ruling so much as serving. And as you can hear, the country appreciates their efforts. Whatever your point of view for the rest of the year, and we have our share of semi-republicans, on a day like this, most Britons are royalists. We're conscious of animals too. Wherever necessary, the streets have been sprinkled with sand, 60 tons of it, to help the horses get a grip. As the Queen's procession moves down the Strand, the crowds outside the palace have something else to cheer. The bridegroom is on his way at 10:30 as planned. With him in the state postilion landau is his younger brother Prince Andrew, one of his supporters for the ceremony. The tradition of having two supporters instead of a best man dates back to the wedding of Albert Edward, Prince of Wales, in 1863. Prince Andrew has the ring in his pocket, we hope. It's made, like his mother's, from a nugget of gold found over 70 years ago in a mine in Wales. It's been used to make royal wedding rings ever since. But this one, Lady Diana's, will be the last. The Queen's goldsmiths, Collingwoods of Conduit Street, will have to look elsewhere for Prince Andrew's bride's wedding ring when the time comes. A couple of weeks ago, we saw on television the training which the horses undergo before these ceremonial parades. They're ridden between lines of cheering, shouting soldiers, each soldier waving flags or blowing bugles until they're steady in the face of the noisiest crowd. The training pays off on the day. The policemen along the route stand with their backs to the procession, facing the crowd. This is the first time it's happened like this in Britain, but times are changing in the world around us. Only a few weeks ago, a young hooligan fired some blank cartridges near the Queen as she rode up the Mall to the ceremony of trooping the colour. Nelson, looking down from his column in Trafalgar Square, would have been shocked if the two princes, Charles and Andrew, both naval officers, had retreated into the shelter of a bulletproof coach. Instead, the police have mounted what the newspapers say is the biggest security operation ever seen in Britain, and they've managed to do it without too much fuss. Some of the footmen, sitting stiffly behind the passengers in each carriage, are in fact armed police sergeants, but no one knows which. It's security in fancy dress, but very tight security for all that. Nothing must be seen to spoil the glory of this splendid occasion. Just behind the Prince's procession comes the glass coach, a suitably fairy tale vehicle for the young lady who's become the darling of Britain in the last 5 months, Lady Diana Spencer. She's wearing the wedding dress the world is waiting to see. The reaction of the crowd is what you'd expect if you'd been in Britain since February. Just 20 years old, of an ancient family with royal blood, she's the first Englishwoman to marry the heir to the throne for 300 years. We think that the Prince has made a very good choice. Lady Diana was born on the Queen's estate at Sandringham in Norfolk. When her father succeeded to his title as the 8th Earl Spencer, he moved to Althorpe, the family seat in Northamptonshire, built by his ancestor in 1508. His youngest daughter is no stranger to life among royalty. For television viewers all over the world, the eye in the sky looks down on our city. But there's nothing like actually being here. There are parties in the street, smiling faces all round, and an atmosphere of pure joy to make London a magic town just for the day.
Those whom God has joined together, let
The radio keeps the crowd abreast of events. But better still, if you want to know when the next procession is coming, climb up and look for it.
And Diana Frances have consented together in holy wedlock.
The service is relayed from the cathedral to the crowds along the route. Everybody shares in the wedding. Everybody shares.
And have declared the same by giving and receiving of a ring and by joining of hands. I pronounce that they be man and wife together in the name of the Father.
At last it's done, and the Prince of Wales, with his new princess, comes out of the cathedral and along the streets to the cheers of the people. The glass coach now contains the children of the bride's train, with a tale to tell their grandchildren. The Queen rides out with the father of the bride, Lord Spencer. And here's the Duke of Edinburgh with the bride's mother. It's just another wedding after all, like anyone else's, when the families get together afterwards, relieved that it all went so smoothly. The thing is that to us in Britain, they're all our family on this day of all days. Back home at last, the tension fading now among the stars of the show. They go to his mother's place for a bite to eat. One day, not too soon, but one day, the Princess of Wales will be King Charles's queen. But today, she's just a bride. Interviewed before the wedding, she said, "It's obviously going to be difficult at first, but with Prince Charles beside me, I hope I'll be all right. We're sure of it." In the few months since she was catapulted from her job as a nursery school teacher to becoming Britain's next queen, the Princess of Wales has shown every sign of being able to master the arduous job that is now hers for life. She will have the help and example of the present queen, who herself was not born to the throne, and the support of all Britain's royal family. The pomp and circumstance is now over. But much as we love it, we like what comes afterwards too. The good-natured scramble to give voice to our feelings for the family that lives in the palace. The wave builds up quietly, and then it breaks. On this perfect summer's day, it seems as if the entire population of Britain is standing outside the palace gates, all eyes on the balcony. The eyes of the world, too, are watching. That estimate of 750 million for the world television audience was correct. There they are. The shouts of "We want Charlie" are lost in an ear-splitting roar. We watched him through school. We saw him learn to fly, to windsurf, to command a ship. We've laughed at his jokes and winced when he fell off his horse. And now we've seen him married, here in our city. One of the old patriotic songs which we treasure in this little country is called "God Bless the Prince of Wales." Today, July the 29th in the year of grace 1981, the words are in everyone's hearts. As the royal couple leave for their honeymoon, away from the glare and the noise for a few short weeks, the last word must rest with the prince's two younger brothers, Andrew and Edward, his supporters at his marriage. They fixed a sign to the back of the carriage, no doubt with the future king's permission. "Just married," it said, and it gave us all a good laugh on our way home.